House Republicans are missing in action during a government shutdown. More statues of past leaders than actual members. Senator Amy Klobuchar warns this isn't politics. It's families losing health care, farmers losing markets, and communities paying the price. The GOP needs to come back and negotiate before it's too late.
President?
The senator from Minnesota.
Mr. President, are we in a
We are
quorum call?
not.
Mr. President, I rise today because the American people deserve affordable health care, and they deserve a government that works for them, not a government of threats, not a government of bullies. They deserve a government that comes together in a bipartisan way to find solutions to the problems and challenges they face. Sadly, right now, we are on day 18, where the Republicans in the House of Representatives have not reported to work. Day 18. I went over there this morning, and there are literally more statues of former Republican leaders than there are actual Republican House members in the entire House. I walked down the hallways. I went to the door. I went to see if anyone was there. There's no one there. There's just a bunch of statues of former leaders. We need real leaders right now over in the House that are willing to sit down and negotiate with members of the Senate and, yes, with the president. Not to be rubber stamps of the president, but to actually come back and say, this is what I'm hearing from my constituents, because we know what they're hearing. We have seen the numbers. And some of them have been willing to say it. Some of the House members on the Republican side, some of the senators. 3/4 of the people on the Affordable Care Act plans, according to a study from the Kaiser Family Foundation, 3/4 of them are in states won by President Trump. The vast majority of them are in red congressional districts. So we know what they're hearing because it's what I've been hearing. Some of the people are already getting notices in some states, like in Senator Warnock, Senator Ossoff's state of Georgia, that they're seeing a doubling of their premiums or a tripling of their premiums. And I have heard the proposed numbers in the state of Minnesota. It is not pretty. A few weeks ago, I went on a 13-county rural tour in my state. I visit all 87 counties every year. And I met with soybean farmers, and one of them told me that what he was seeing between the tariffs drying up his market, 60% of the soybeans in Minnesota are exported around the world. We're proud of that. We feed the world. Those markets have dried up. They can't sell their soybeans. They can't get a good price for their soybeans. Heard the same thing from our corn growers. So when you look at what's happening with their markets, and then you look at what's happening with their input costs for things like fertilizer because of the tariffs, of the Trump tariffs, and you look at the increases for them in their daily living expenses like electricity bills, like grocery bills, because these tariffs, and yes, these health care premiums. You look at this, and one soybean farmer told me this is a perfect storm of ugly. So what should our answer be? To stay away, like these Republican House members have done, because they're afraid of having a vote about the release of the Epstein files? That soybean farmer is like, what? Go take care of your business, but your job is to come here and help me. Families' budgets are being squeezed. The president promised he would bring down prices on day one, but instead it is day 261, and the opposite is happening, especially with health care. And this isn't a December problem or a January problem. This is a now problem, because November 1st is the date. November 1st is the date where these plans that are called different things in different states, in my state it's called MNsure, when these plans, which over 25% of our farmers are on, for one thing, and a whole
Senator Amy Klobuchar's words are more than a critique of political theater. They're a window into the real consequences of legislative absence. On day 18 of the government shutdown, she walked the halls of the Capitol and saw something that should alarm every American. More statues of former Republican leaders than actual members present in the House. That stark imagery isn't just symbolic. It represents the absence of governance at a moment when people's lives, livelihoods, and health are on the line. Klobuchar frames this absence as a moral failure, but she also grounds it in tangible, human realities. In her own state of Minnesota, farmers are facing a perfect storm of economic pressures. Tariffs have dried up international markets, raising costs and reducing sales for soybeans and corn. Input costs like fertilizer have spiked, daily living expenses such as groceries and electricity have risen, and now healthcare premiums are set to double or even triple for millions of Americans. These aren't abstract numbers. These are real people balancing the cost of keeping their families fed, homes powered, and children healthy. One soybean farmer described it as a perfect storm of ugly, a phrase that perfectly captures the accumulation of political decisions, market pressures, and policy inaction converging to threaten livelihoods. When Klobuchar speaks about the Republicans' absence, she is highlighting more than a missed vote or empty desks. She's drawing attention to the human cost of political games. Families across the country are being forced to make impossible choices because elected officials have walked away from their responsibilities. Health coverage isn't just a line item in a budget. It's the difference between a family accessing affordable care and being bankrupted by medical bills. For farmers, missing markets means lost income, potential foreclosure, and the erosion of generational livelihoods. The shutdown, combined with inaction on ACA protections, is a policy-fueled crisis hitting the most vulnerable with precision. Klobuchar's critique also teaches an important lesson about governance. Effective leadership requires presence, accountability, and a willingness to negotiate. Democracy doesn't function when members of Congress retreat from their duties. Lawmakers are supposed to be a bridge between public need and government action. When that bridge collapses, people fall through, and the consequences are immediate. By walking the halls, counting absent members, and comparing them to statues of the past, Klobuchar provides a vivid, humanized metaphor. History may memorialize leaders, but the present is defined by those who actually show up and take responsibility. This moment also underscores the importance of bipartisanship. Klobuchar isn't simply blaming the opposition for partisan reasons. She is calling for negotiation, for members to listen to constituents, and for policy to be shaped by the needs of real people rather than political optics. Her emphasis on the timelines of healthcare, November 1st as a critical date when premiums and coverage changes take effect, demonstrates how legislative inaction has concrete deadlines that affect families immediately. She connects abstract policy discussions to lived experiences, showing that every missed vote has ripple effects that extend far beyond the halls of Congress. Ultimately, Klobuchar's message is a lesson in civic responsibility. Government doesn't function as a theater of absence. It functions when elected officials are present, accountable, and attentive to their constituents' real needs. The shutdown, the absence of House Republicans, and the rising premiums and economic pressures are all interconnected. This isn't about party politics. It's about understanding how decisions, or the lack of them, have real-world consequences for millions of Americans. The takeaway for viewers is clear. Being engaged, informed, and vocal matters. Citizens need to hold lawmakers accountable, demand transparency, and insist on bipartisanship that prioritizes the people over political games. As Klobuchar's tour of rural Minnesota illustrates, policy is not just numbers, it is life, livelihood, and survival. Every legislative choice, every absence, has consequences. Subscribe to Left Lens for more in-depth analysis that goes beyond headlines, exposes the human impact of policy decisions, and teaches viewers why civic engagement matters. Share this video, comment with your thoughts on government accountability, and join the conversation about what real leadership should look like in times of crisis.